Huh? Hey everybody, I'm Rick. Welcome to Talking Habs, where you get your daily fix of Bleu Blanc Rouge. Like, really? You had to come in here and film me? Damn, that's embarrassing. All right, this video is 12 questions about the Montreal Canadiens Jesperi Kotkaniemi, all concerning the upcoming 2021-22 season. So I'm going to read the questions and I'm going to give you my answers best I can. And let me know what you think in the comment section, as always. Question number 1. How big is KK? And I'm sure they mean height. He's 6'2", 201 pounds. Now that's the listing on the Habs website, but I think that's the listing from last season, and I think it'll be updated once they get to camp. They do the measurements and the health and all that kind of stuff. And I think that'll be updated then. But he's listed right now as 6'2", 201 pounds. He is 21 years old because he turned 21 on July 6th of 2021. And he is a left shot center. Number 2, why does KK smile so much? Because that kid smiles all the time. I think the answer is pretty easy. He smiles so much because he carries a big stick. Number 3, and that's a big question here, number 3. Why is it taking so long to sign KK? I think there's a few reasons why that could be, actually. I think mainly, well, I think this might be one of the reasons, is that his dad has been diagnosed with cancer. And I know he had to leave his post as the head coach of the under-20 team for treatment. And I have a feeling, since it's the off-season, that KK's probably back there and taking care of business down there. And I have a feeling that that has something to do with what might be going on. Number 2 to that is maybe there's a trade in the works. I don't want that to be the reason, really, but I mean, maybe there's a trade in the works and they can't really sign them before the trade. The other team wants to negotiate with KK themselves, maybe. I mean, I don't think that's really what it is, but I mean, maybe that could be what it is. And then the other one, I think, is negotiations are just harder than expected. I think that's more than likely the reason, is that negotiations are taking longer and they're a little harder than they thought they might be. And maybe it could be on the KK side, it could be on the Habs side, I don't know where, but I have a feeling that would be the one. It's just simply that negotiations are taking a little longer. Number 4, do you think KK could be offer sheeted? Actually, you know what? I don't really think that he'll get offer sheeted for a couple of reasons, really. I think it's a risk for a team that offer sheets him, because if they risk a chance of overpaying him, is really what I think. So if they offer him too much, Montreal doesn't match, they're going to be stuck with that. And the reason why, to me, it's a risk is that KK hasn't established himself yet as an NHLer. So how much is it that you're going to give him that Montreal won't match? So, like, I don't know. I just don't think that a team is going to risk money this year, and especially in a, you know, when the cap is staying where it is. This year, the cap's not moving at all. So I really don't think they're going to risk that. So I don't think there's that much chance that KK gets offer sheeted. Number 5, what type of deal do you think KK will sign? I think KK signs a bridge deal. I think it's a 2 to 3 year term. I don't see why he would want to sign longer than that in this, with the cap being so low and not moving up very much every year. It's going to move up $1 million a year for the next 4 years. I think he would want to, you know, wait a little bit and then take his chances getting more money, you know, in 2-3 years when he's established himself. You got to figure by 2-3 years down the road, he's probably going to be established as who he is going to be as a player. I also think he's going to get somewhere between $2.75 million and $3.5 million as his AAV. I don't see on a bridge deal that he's going to get higher than that. It would kind of surprise me. With all the other guys getting $3.5 million, I don't see why this wouldn't be the right number for KK. So I see a bridge deal of 2 to 3 years, and probably it's going to come in at $3.5 million, but I think somewhere around 3 to 3.5 million. If I'm going to narrow it down, I really think it's going to be in there. So that's what I really think it's going to be. I'm going to add this. If it were me and I was KK, I don't think I would want to sign for longer than that. But also for the team, I don't think it makes sense to sign him to a longer term than that right now. Because if you're going to sign him longer term, the risk is still there that he's not going to pan out to be that player that you're probably going to pay him for if you sign him now. And I just don't see it happening. So I think it's definitely a bridge deal for KK. So this one, number 6, is like a two-part question. Is KK a bust? Or should the Habs have picked best player available in the draft where he was taken? So in the draft that KK was in, the Habs could have gone for best player available, which they didn't do. They went for a position that they needed, which was center. They were dying for centers back then. And so they drafted KK. I think it's a little early to call him a bust. I don't think it's fair to call a player a bust before he's 25. KK just turned 21. I think everyone gets confused about that because he's been in the league for 3 years already. So they assume that he's older. I just think that. And yeah, but he's 21. He's got 4 years before I think that it's fair to call him a bust. I really do. So the other question is, should they have picked best player available, who at the time I was wanting Brady Tkachuk. I think a lot of people were. I don't know that Brady Tkachuk turns out to be the best player available, but I think the question when people ask that, if you're a Habs fan, is should they pick Brady Tkachuk or Kotkaniemi? And I think it's too early to tell. I don't think it's fair to judge yet whether Tkachuk is better and will be the better NHLer in the long run, or KK is. For right now, I think maybe Tkachuk looks like the better guy, that they should have picked him. But I don't know that that's how it's going to turn out by the end of their careers, or even 5 years down the road. So I think it's a little too early to really judge that. Number 7. Is this a make or break season for KK? As a Montreal Canadien, or even as an NHLer? Yeah, I think, you can make an argument for it being a make or break season for him as a Montreal Canadien. It's possible that if he has a bad season, maybe an injury-filled season, just an unsatisfying season for the Habs, let's put it that way, where he doesn't really reach that next level that he needs to reach. I think at that point, yeah, it might be a make or break season for KK as far as being a Montreal Canadien. As far as him being an NHL player, no, I don't think at all. Like I said, if you can't call him a bust till the age of 25, I think he's got at least that long to prove that he is an NHLer. And a lot of guys develop much later than others. There's no set time for a player to develop. So we don't know when he's really going to come into his own. We're hoping it's next season. So for Montreal, yeah, I think it might be. But as an NHLer, no, it's not. Number 8, should KK move to the wing? I don't think so. I think it's a pretty simple answer to have. No. I think KK has proven at least the fact that he's a center. And I think that when he has played on the wing, only was any better. I think KK is a center. Point final. That's it. That's all. And he stays as a center. Number 9. So should they sign him and everything's good? Where should KK slot in this season on the roster in the lineup? Well, I think the obvious answer is very simply he should be the second line center, unless of course they go out and they do pick up like there was rumors about Christian Dvorak. I mean, if they do something like that and they pick up an experienced second line, an experienced center, then I could see KK slotting in on the third line. But I think this season, unless they do make a move in that way, picking, like the rumors are Eichel, the lesser one is Dvorak. So unless they do that, yeah, he's going to be a second line center. And if they do make that move and bring in an experienced center to play second line, then I think it just simply stays as the third line center and continues to develop here. And the expectations for him production-wise would be down a little bit, but he'd still have expectations that he'd have to reach, and it wouldn't change whether it's a make or break season for him in Montreal, because if he stays as a third line center, he still has to perform better and put up better numbers than he did in the last 2 seasons, that's for sure. Number 10, what kind of production do you think we'll have from KK this season? All right, so I've got a couple of answers to that, depending on what line he's on, right? So if he's on line 2, I think he absolutely has to give you a minimum of 45 points, because you can't have a second line center and be successful as a team and going into the playoffs and hoping to have success that way with a second line center that can't give you more than 45 points. So I think 45 to 55 points, I think, is fair game to expect from KK as a second line center. And I think if it's that he's a third line center, I think he has to give you somewhere around what he got in his first season, and he's got to give you 30 plus points. The higher up in there, the better, but he's got to give you a minimum of 30 points as a line 3. And I think a lot of people are going to say that that's not enough, but it's 30 plus. So yeah, I think it's that kind of production he has to hit as a minimum in order to call it a successful season, depending on what line he's on. Number 11, where do you see KK in the next 4 years when he's 25 years old? Well, I got 2 answers to that, because I think it depends on how he does this upcoming season for where he'll be in the 4 years. So if he has a successful season next year and he's going forward, he's staying in Montreal, I really see him as being wearing an A, being solid second line center, putting up 55 to 65 points a year, being a physical presence out there, being a really great passer, a guy who can shoot the puck, and a guy that has a 200-foot game. So I really see some good things for KK in the next 4 years. Now, if it doesn't turn out that way, where he doesn't have that season this coming season, and Montreal does move on from him, I can really see KK just being, a third line center on wherever he's at, and being a pretty good, consistent third line center. I think he's got NHL talent, and I think he's definitely an NHL player. Number 12, why do you think it's taking so long for KK to establish himself as a top 2 center? All right, first off, I don't think it's taking too long. So I don't look at it as it's taking too long. KK's entering his 4th season. I think if he was 22 when he entered the NHL, and he'd be 26 now, right? That'd be a different story. But he was 18. He's entering his 4th season. I don't see that as taking too long. If you look back at some of the really good top centers that are in the league right now, I mean, they took a similar route, especially guys that were in the league at 18 or 19. They had a very similar route, and they became very good centers, and I don't think there's anything. So I don't really think it's too long. I also think part of it is he hasn't been consistent, right? He had that really good rookie season, especially for an 18-year-old. And then it kind of fell off from there, right? So if he had even just the same kind of production in the next 2 seasons, we'd be talking differently about the kid. And he may not yet be a second-line center, but going into the season, we'd have had a better feeling about it being a possibility, right? He also, I think I said it in there, is that he started so young at 18. And we all forget that he was only 18 and that he's only 21 right now. He just turned 21. He probably should have spent another season in Finland. And that's probably really the truth, is that instead of that 18-year-old rookie season that he had, he probably should have gone back to Finland, spent a year, 1 more year there, then made the trip across the pond or across the water, however you want to term it, to play here in Laval for a season. I would like to see that, or part of a season, and then make his move up here. And then that way, essentially, last season would have been his rookie year. It would have been totally different KK, and who knows where we'd be at with him right now. But it's not the route he took. But I think a lot of the reason that he's having trouble establishing himself right now is that he probably was rushed a little bit, and that's really what it is. So that's why he's not a bust, and that's why I still think that his ceiling is still high.